This week on Africa Weekly, we focus on Mauritania, where NGOs are fighting to pass legislation to better protect women's rights. And we take you to Nigeria, which is drawing the attention of international brewers keen to capitalise on this largely untapped market. But first, a summary of the stories that made the headlines this week. Another major protest took place in Algiers following Friday prayers, as the movement against ailing President Abdelaziz Bouteflika's re-election bid gains momentum. In a message released on Thursday by the official APS news agency, Bouteflika warned that troublemakers may try to infiltrate the demonstrations to provoke turmoil. On Tuesday, thousands of students rallied against the 82-year-old leader, who announced he would be running in the April 18th presidential poll.
We are tired. The people are tired. Most of us have never known any other president. It's time to change things.
Even if they decide not to listen to us, and they don't change anything, we too will continue until the authorities change, and it will be peaceful. There will be no violence at all.
Bouteflika, who is still abroad for what the presidency has described as routine medical tests, promised on Sunday that if he wins the April poll, he will organise a national conference to set a date for further elections, which he would not contest. The award-winning Egyptian photojournalist Mahmoud Abu Zaid, known as Shawkan, expressed his relief on Monday as he walked free after nearly 6 years in prison. Shawkan was detained in August 2013 while covering clashes between security forces and supporters of ousted Islamist President Mohamed Morsi that turned into a bloodbath in which hundreds of demonstrators died. After being tried with 739 defendants, he was accused of murder and membership of a terrorist organization, charges that can carry the death penalty.
I felt like I was flying. I was free. I could walk in the streets at any time, sleep at any time. There were no prison bars and no prison guard.
Following his release, Shawkan faces 5 years of strict supervision and will be required to spend every night sleeping at his local police station. But he has vowed to resume his work. Senegalese President Macky Sall pledged to do more and better on Tuesday after winning a second term in office. He also used the opportunity to reach out to the opposition. Sall won the country's presidential poll outright in the first round, picking up 58.3% of the vote. Recently elected Democratic Republic of Congo President Félix Tshisekedi has pledged to pardon political prisoners and said he will work for the return of those who had fled abroad for political reasons.
Within 10 days, I will take a measure of granting presidential pardon to political prisoners who have been sentenced by decisions that have been overturned.
The son of former Liberian President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, Charles Sirleaf, was charged on Monday by a Monrovia court with a number of offences, including economic sabotage, following a probe into missing banknotes. Also charged were former Liberian Central Bank Governor Milton Weeks and other senior executives. Cameroonians fleeing the conflict in the country's English-speaking regions continue to arrive in neighbouring French-speaking Moungo. Since 2017, English-speaking separatists have taken up arms against the French-speaking government on the western flank of Cameroon. In Nkong-Samba, where about 100 families have taken up refuge, these internally displaced people say they are waiting for the unrest to stop before they return home.
We are homeless and we really suffered. It is not easy in our family, so we really ask government to look into our problem.
Zara has lived through a mother's worst nightmare. Months after the attack on her 5-year-old daughter, emotions are still raw.
He came, he took my daughter whilst I was asleep. He took her away and he raped her. She had to have an operation.
The rapist, a serial paedophile, was sentenced to 10 years in jail. But according to the Association of Women Heads of Family, Sexual offenders in Mauritania are often released well before the end of their sentences. There are calls for more extensive legislation with regards to women's rights, and in 2016, new legislation was drafted seeking much harsher penalties for sexual violence.
We need this law because we know that violence against women is skyrocketing.
But in this religiously conservative country, the bill proved to be too controversial. It was rejected by Parliament twice and has now been withdrawn by the government.
We cannot adopt a law which contradicts Sharia law, which is the basis of the nation's constitution.
Opponents of the bill also criticise its wording. They say that the notion of gender in the title would pave the way for a possible defence of homosexuality, which is illegal in Mauritania. But among those that rejected the draft legislation, some are willing to seek a compromise to achieve better protection of women's rights.
Women clearly need this protection. No matter how tolerant our society is with regard to women, they're still considered as lesser in many regards, in mindsets and in many practices.
It's an opinion that's echoed by the NGO Human Rights Watch. In their report published in September, they said that even the draft legislation would not go far enough in tackling these issues. Relaxing with a beer after work. A scene repeated across the globe, but somewhat rarer in Nigeria, where people consume just 9 litres of beer on average per year. But could that be changing?
When the ball is being played, we watch and we drink a lot. Most especially when your club is playing. Rather than spend 3 odd hours in traffic, I can spend time drinking beer here. The wear and tear, the bumpy ride, avoid that basically.
International brewers are pouring investment into Nigeria, hoping to capture a share of what is still a relatively untapped market. One Belgian company has opened a new factory on the outskirts of Lagos, the largest in Western Africa.
Lagos is the big thing. Lagos is 25 million. If you look at Lagos in Africa, Lagos is about the 4th or 5th biggest economy in Africa. So if you want to play big, then you have to be in Lagos.
For now, more well-established Nigerian brewers are still the industry leaders. They are confident they can stay on top and view the arrival of international competition as a positive testament to the country's growing appeal.
We see it as a fair game between competitors. We have been in this market a long time. We are above 60% market share in this country. We know the country, we know the terrain. There is a lot of room for growth in this market. There is a lot of room to excite the consumers more.
Brewers are betting on attracting the younger generation, and with half of Nigeria's 190 million people under the age of 30, and the country's total population expected to double by 2050, it's easy to see why brewers are hopping into the market.
South Africans celebrated Gay Pride on Saturday in Cape Town. In 2006, South Africa became the sole African nation to allow gay marriage. The country has become a haven for African homosexuals fleeing persecution at home. Many travel to the country to get married before returning home. Manchester United legend Ryan Giggs kicked off the UEFA Champions League Trophy Tour in Johannesburg, where he spoke about the issues of racism in the sport, asserting that football has a big social responsibility to educate its fans.
I don't think it's just a football issue. I think it's been well documented that it's a social issue. So until you address it socially, then you're not going to get it out of football. But football do a lot of great work, and sometimes it's the odd individual. Or sometimes it's fans who aren't educated. So I think football has a big responsibility to try and educate, but also bigger than that, it's a social issue as well.
That's all from us at Africa Weekly. Until next week.